Alright, I wanted to show you guys how much we've gotten in the mail so far. So here is what we've received up until this point that I've showed you guys on the video. This is what we got this week. We got a lot. I would say the total gifts that we have received, I mean, there's definitely over 60 gifts here right now. So I really wanted to take this moment to let you guys know, like, if your gift has made it and how much of an impact this is making for us. So when you think about it, today, if David were here, me and my husband would be planning a birthday party. You know, we would have spent a certain amount of money on getting him gifts, providing food, welcoming family and friends into our home, and, you know, making a special day out of it. So the idea is the money that would have been spent on giving him gifts and a party today is being used to love on someone else. So through our hurt, it's healing to help someone else who is hurting. I wanted to just share with you how much this means to us. You can imagine every day that we've come home and seen packages on our front porch, and to open them up, like it truly feels like we're getting a birthday party after all. Like, I mean, this has just been amazing to see how much has come in so far, and I know that there's still gifts that are coming. So these are the ones who filled out the little gift receipts, and I know that several of you you know, don't personally have my number. You guys follow me on social media, so I just wanted to give a shout out to these people. And if I mispronounce your name, I'm so sorry, but thank you from Allie McClendon, my parents, the Stenson family, Carolina Velasquez, Max's mommy, the Hall family, the Vickers family, Jennifer Perez, Mundell family, Tina Stevens and family, the Worth family, the Humphrey family, and the Hewitt family. Thank you so much for sending in these notes. If you have sent a gift and you see this is something that you know you ordered, maybe the gift receipt just didn't have your message on it. We did have a lot of receipts that were blank. So if you don't see it though, and you're wondering if it has come in, you're welcome to send me a message to ask, and we'll work on that. I know right now that the mail has just been a little different with the pandemic. So thank you guys for your patience. Thank you for your giving. This means so much to our family.
To see that, you know, so many people are willing to help, you know, families in the NICU situation, or, you know, just going through a tough time with a child in the hospital. Because I know when we were there, getting even little things like a stick of chapstick or a little, you know, bottle of lotion, it was, we may not have thought we needed it before then, but when we received it, it was like, we were so thankful to get that, you know, especially the days after when we realized we needed it. But it's been awesome to get notifications every day. You know, there's a package going to be arriving, or 3 or 4 packages arriving. So we're, you know, very thankful for everyone who contributed and who has, you know, continued to contribute. My desire is to know you deeper. It was a whirlwind. You know, I look back and there's parts of it that I remember, there's parts of it I don't remember. One thing I do remember, it was a rainy day, kind of like today. And although that was, you know, a stressful situation, there was a calm within the chaos. remember particularly once we got to the room, when we knew we were going to deliver David that evening, and we had family there, and they were all gathered around to pray with us. And pastors and friends came and prayed with us. But I remember that the delivery itself was very calm, I guess I could say, given the situation. Although David was sick coming out, the process of him entering the world was a relatively peaceful time. I remember he came out, and the nurses took him and took him over and was checking him, making sure he was, everything looked okay. They obviously knew his heart was, in a bad place. He was purple and blue, as to be expected with that kind of heart defect. And I remember it was the only time I've heard him cry. Or anything come out of his mouth. And I remember Ashley getting to hold him briefly. Just for probably 20 seconds or so. We got a picture from the nurse. And then they took him, they put him in the little carrier, and I remember walking with him through the hall as they took him to the NICU. And I remember hearing him cry in the little basket. And then once we got to the NICU, that was the last time I ever heard him cry. And then the hours after that, the neonatologist that was on staff came and got me, and I went and talked to her, and they said that he was definitely sicker than they'd expected. Which could have been a reason why he came early. But I remember it was all just a whirlwind of emotions, of information, and I just knew that we were, preparing for the next steps. To go to the hospital for him to have his surgeries, and hopefully come home. Of course, Ashley, her family, they were able to discharge her a lot more quickly than normal because of the situation, but they left the hospital before I did. And I went down into the NICU and was waiting with the transport team from the other hospital, and just kind of watching them move him into the transport. And even all of that, it was just like I felt like a sense of relief, because we felt like, well, this was part of the plan, that we get up to these guys, hopefully everything will take place as we were explained. Once we got on the plane, I just remember sitting there just kind of looking at him, and he was stable, David wasn't moving around acting crazy. I'm sure they helped him, kind of relax with some medication, but I just remember just kind of being able to breathe for an hour on that flight until we got to Orlando.
The delivery experience for me was definitely just like Chuck was saying in his video, it was amazing how peaceful it was. You know, that there was a small group of people that were able to be in the waiting room while we were delivering. It was just me and Chuck, because they had to have so many people ready to get David as soon as he came out. So there were no other family members with us, but you know, we just felt that overwhelming sense of peace. It was, I believe, a supernatural peace, because you can imagine having a baby with a heart defect is scary to deliver in the first place, but at 35 weeks, knowing his lungs might not be fully functioning on their own, and having a heart defect really affects the lungs. His oxygen levels are not normal oxygen levels with only half of a heart. So that was one of the things in the back of our minds. But even though, you know, he could have come out and immediately died, he could have come out and not responded to any of the treatments. And so I look back over these 3 years and I see more and more evidence of the miracle of David's life. Even the protection that was over me in the delivery, because I've shared a little bit about what happened when I delivered him. And to be modest, I experienced a very traumatic complication during delivery. They said that the kind of tear that happened when he was delivered is the worst tear that a woman can experience. I have heard stories of women hemorrhaging and having life-threatening complications as soon as the baby was delivered. I didn't have to receive any blood transfusions. I didn't have to be put on oxygen. I didn't lose consciousness. I didn't have to be put on a breathing tube. I mean, there's so many women that went through the kind of delivery that I went through and nearly lost their lives. And so I look back and not just look at what happened to David, but the grace and the protection over me. The fact that I didn't have any follow-up care at all. I was checked through the night, and I delivered David right before midnight at 11:57 p.m. and I was discharged by 12 noon. So they did not even monitor me for 24 hours. I was out of the hospital. I got something to eat, and I got in the back of my parents' truck, and I was cushioned with tons of pillows. Yes, the anesthesia had worn off, so I was able to move my legs, but many women who follow me who have experienced a 4th degree tear know that stitches and swelling, it was beyond uncomfortable to be in a 6+ hour car ride. And actually, because of how many times I needed to stop, because not only was I dealing with pain and swelling and discomfort, but I was dealing with incontinence and loss of control. So I would suddenly feel like I need to go to the bathroom, and I'd have to go right then. I had no way of holding it. My muscles were completely torn. It was awful. It was awful. And, you know, I look back and how dangerous that could have been, that I was immediately discharged and then thrown into a stressful environment where, thankfully, they gave me a wheelchair at the hospital in Orlando, and we used it to get around until I felt like I could get on my feet. I carried pillows with me and made sure I sat on pillows because sitting was unbearable. And I think back at the fact that I was on my feet so much, and I'm amazed that I recovered like I did, because I've heard stories of women who were like bedridden for months after that. The first time that I saw David all hooked up in the NICU, I remember I was, you know, in and out of sleep the night after he was delivered, and around 2 a.m. they said he was stable, and that's when my husband got to see him. But I didn't have feeling in my legs yet, and they were letting me just rest. So once I noticed I could feel like I could sit up in the bed, I buzzed for the nurse because I was in my heart thinking, okay, in the next hour is when he's supposed to get on the plane. I want to see him before I'm separated for a whole day. And so the nurse helped me get into a wheelchair and wheeled me into the NICU. And this is the NICU where we're bringing these gifts. And he was so little. He had a breathing tube, he had IVs, he had all kinds of things hooked up to him. He was sleeping with his mouth wide open. And I remember just looking at him and thinking, wow, I can't believe I'm a mom. I can't believe I made this baby, and just this overwhelming sense of I hope he's gonna be okay. You know, you don't know what's gonna happen. But I didn't know what was ahead. His first battle was just to make it to gain weight, to be at a safe weight for heart surgery. He was definitely too small to start surgery right away. You know, there are a lot of days in these years that we've lived without David where we can look back and question choices and live with, you know, were we good enough advocates? Were we doing our research enough? You know, were we praying enough? You know, it really can be hard to live with those thoughts. But we have to remind ourselves every day when we have those things rear up that we loved him the best we could. We did the best we could for the time and the circumstances that we were given. And you know, we can't live with bitterness or regret. You know, our only regret is just that, you know, he couldn't have been born with a normal heart. But I'm grateful, as weird as it sounds, to have been through it, because I've learned so many things about not taking our health for granted, not taking our family's health for granted, and just how much of a miracle a child that is born with no congenital anything, like no birth defects, that's amazing. I definitely have more of an appreciation for what it means to give. I remember before I was pregnant with David, before the diagnosis, I remember saying, I would love to have more money where I could be more of a blessing to people. What difference have I made in this world? Do I have something to offer? And I even told my friends that I was with, you know, I feel like that there's something coming, that, you know, God will allow me to have an outlet for people to connect with me. And so I just wanted to add that being connected with all the families who have babies with heart defects, the same heart defect as David, different heart defects, they're also getting a heart transplant, and the families who have lost a child. Being connected to you all has been my saving grace. I pray that my videos offer encouragement to you. That's what we're doing this for. It's not for our own personal gain. It's to just constantly not only love on these families, but to offer you hope that if you just lost a child within the last year, I can't tell you it gets easier, but I can tell you that you can do it. The best mindset that I've had to give myself is, while I'm hurting, someone else is hurting. What can I do to get my mind off of myself and focus on loving on someone else? And anytime I'm triggered with pain, immediately think of someone else who's hurting and reach out to them. And it's amazing how reaching out to others really helps. And so I hope that this encourages you today.
I'd say to remain hopeful, regardless of what the situation looks like, and to do, you know, if you are a believer, you know, to seek after the Lord. If you're not, ask the Lord to show himself to you. Because he will. I mean, if you're a believer or non-believer, he can still communicate with you.
Where you are, oh God, peel back the layers of my heart. I want communion. I
I would say you have emotional days and not so emotional days. Whenever or when you deal with loss, whether it's a child or anyone that's close to you, I try to remain mindful of the big picture, of knowing that he's in heaven right now. He's not having to deal with any issues from the sickness that he dealt with, and I'm thankful for that. Even though he's not here with us, I'm so thankful that he's in heaven and that I'll see him again one day and he'll be perfect.
Thank you all for loving us. Thank you for letting us know that David's life meant something to you, and that you still think of us today.
I want to be with you. I want to be with you. I want to be with you, Lord. I'm nothing without you. I'm better.